purpose of recording is so that following tonight, we can match my comments to the slides and be able to share those publicly so that our citizens have the opportunity to have the benefit of what you're going to hear this evening. So I'm glad to be able to be here to present my proposed budget to you for your consideration, and certainly your consideration prior to the time when you send a budget to the Board of Supervisors for their ultimate consideration. We're here tonight after a very long process, a process that started way back in October, where we worked to secure feedback from our principals and our department heads, asking them for their top 3 priorities. What are your priorities from a personnel standpoint? What are your priorities from a programmatic standpoint? We received that information in December, began to triage that information down to what you see in front of you this evening. When those memos came in December, keeping in mind we limited them to 3, it was over $5.6 million of needs that we received from our supervisors and our principals. That does not include any sort of compensation adjustment, salary, and benefits. So what you will see in front of you this evening has been pared down significantly from what we received from departments and principal heads based on what they felt they needed in their school and in their departments. You have all that as a copy. We've been very transparent through this process. You've had multiple work sessions to date. You have tonight, which is a public meeting, and you'll have multiple work sessions and a public hearing to be able to hear from our community regarding what everyone feels is an important funding need for our school division. Before we get too far, I do want to thank Cynthia. I want to thank Robin Lama. I want to thank senior staff, principals, and department heads who have really gotten us to this point in time. What I'm presenting to you tonight is a compilation of a whole bunch of work, and it's just being shown here this evening for everybody to see. But it's taken us a while to get to this point in time. I want to thank everybody for their efforts to get us here. So why are we in public education? Why are we here? This is why we're here. We're here for our kids. We're here because what we are going to do from a financial standpoint is in the best interest of our students. And everything that we do as an organization, the decisions that we make today and into the future, is based on the best need of our students. What's in the best interest of our students? And so it's our job and our desire to provide our students with the resources that they're going to need to be competitive. What are they going to need to be successful in an ever-changing job and academic market? And as we make those decisions in the best interest of our students, there are things that we need. There are instructional programs that we need. There are personnel resources that we need. There are materials and supplies that we need for our kids in order to be competitive and provide them with an even playing field to be successful as they look for college and job opportunities in the future. In our audience tonight, among you, we have Shenandoah County graduates. We have people who are leaders in our community who have gone through our schools. Plant managers, law enforcement officers, doctors, lawyers. We come across people in our community every day that are a product of our schools. And so the students who are walking our halls today are in fact our future leaders. They are the individuals who will sit up here and make decisions for this community in the future. They are the folks who will be taking care of us when we're in the hospital. They're the folks who are going to keep us safe. They're the folks who are going to show up when 911 is called and they're there to protect ourselves and our family. So as we look forward to our budget, we need to look forward to the future. Not looking in the past, but looking towards the future. And what do we need for our students now so that they can be successful as they lead this community well into the future? Because truly what we're doing is, in fact, an investment. It's an investment of time, labor, and resources in this community's future. As I present my budget this evening, you're going to find that this budget is aligned directly with your goals. Our school division's goals. What do we want to accomplish as a school division? You've created that roadmap. You've identified goals that we as a school division feel are important. And you're going to find that what we talk about is directly aligned and linked to those goals. We as an organization believe in continuous growth and improvement. We're not satisfied with the status quo. We always want to get better. And the budget process is just one step in that continuous improvement cycle. As you identified our school division priorities, we've gone through a course of half of the school year. Now we're at the point in time we have to determine what resources we need to continue to be successful and climb towards continuous improvement into the future. Again, let's not focus so much on the past, but let's look forward. Let's let's look at the needs of our school division as we go forward and make that investment and identify the resources that we need as a community to provide the best education that we can for our students. Again, continuous growth and improvement is very important for us and is expected for everyone. And the requests that are outlined in this proposed budget allow us to make strides in reducing the gap between where we are now and our goals and aspirations for our school division in the future. Since October, as I've said, we've been working to identify the resource needs that will allow us to close this gap. And during our work sessions leading up to this presentation, we've discussed together many of those needs. Now that we've identified these gaps, our responsibility to our students is to work towards finding solutions that will help us to fill those gaps. We want to eliminate the gaps that are present with regard to student achievement, instructional programming, instructional resources, employee compensation, and learning opportunities for our students. We aspire to provide our students with the same opportunities and advantages as do students in other school divisions who are competing with our kids for both admission into college and for future employment. The funding request identified in this proposed budget helps us to make strides towards closing the gaps that we, as a school community, have identified. As we look forward to the needs of our school division and the resources that are required for our students to be provided with a quality and competitive educational experience, we can't afford to fail. We can't afford to not adapt to new challenges. In our community, we see businesses who have succeeded, they've adapted, and they've changed to meet new environments. Businesses in Shenandoah County have adapted, and they've evolved to meet the changing dynamics of their own particular business demands. Job skills are changing. The jobs that existed at Bowman Apple are no longer the jobs that you will find as you tour the plant today. Jobs are specialized and technical. Advancements in machinery have brought efficiencies to business operations. Andros is a global company that does more than just make applesauce and apple juice. They have evolved, they've changed, and they've kept pace with market demands and needs. Successful businesses are changing. We're not using crank phones or rotary phones anymore. Chantel is not just a company that competes for customers in Shenandoah County. They're competing for customers on a regional basis and have expanded their customer and employee base in order to keep pace with changing business conditions. The business of education has also changed. The classroom of 2016 is not the same classroom of 1959. And if Ms. Smoot were teaching those same 40 students in our classrooms today in 2016, 3 of those 40 students don't speak English as their first language. 5 of those 40 students have an identified disability. 18 of those students are in poverty. 8 are minority. 1 was exposed to illegal substances while in the womb. 2 are gifted. Our classrooms are much more diverse now than they've ever been. But this diversity is what makes us great, and we must celebrate every child's individual differences. And truly, it's what makes me proud, very proud, to be a public educator. Because in public education, we provide all students, regardless of their background, with the opportunity to achieve academic success. To us, in this school division, all means all. And it's critical that we, as our community school division, evolve, change, and meet the changing demands of our school division so that we can achieve future success. We must succeed for the sake of the students who are depending on us. That being said, there are instructional resources, operational resources, and personnel that we need to provide in order for every student to be given the same opportunity to achieve. These are needs, not wants. As we identify these needs heading into the future for next year, you're going to find that there's a common theme throughout of providing equitable resources to all students within our school division. You also find that these needs are identified as related to your school division goals. So with regard to student opportunity and achievement, specifically instructional personnel, there is not an equitable distribution of Spanish opportunities to students on the northern campus. The data is in black and white, it doesn't lie. There is a need for a Spanish teacher on the northern campus. You have seen firsthand the successes of our biomedical program. It does not continue without resources to make it happen. There is a need for materials and supplies, professional development, and a 0.5 teacher to keep that program going. Without it, it stops. Although the number of students who are receiving support for being an English language learner has decreased slightly, as a function of our overall population, the percentage has increased. It necessitates a need for us to hire an additional ELL teacher for next year. Again, the numbers in black and white don't lie. There is not the same staffing in some of our schools compared to others. And this data provides that summary information for you and your consideration. Again, there is a need for school counselors across our school division. The American School Counselor Association recommends a ratio of 250 students to one counselor. And you can see that nowhere in our school division is that being met. But look at the disparity specifically at Signal Knob Middle School and Peter Muhlenberg Middle School. Even though additional students may go to North Fork Middle School, there is still a discrepancy in staffing in our middle school counseling ranks. As we prepare students for the future and we help them plan for a career, getting them ready for their future long after they leave our high schools, we need to provide support to them in our career coaching department. We don't have equity here on this. We have one career coach at Strasburg High School. We have one shared between Stonewall Jackson and Central High School. We need one at each high school. Gina Setter has presented to you in the past regarding the increasing needs of our students who are entering preschool with identified disabilities. There's an increasing number of students who are going through the testing process. Those students are tested. There's an increasing need for speech-language support. So we have currently a 0.5 speech-language pathologist. We need to increase that 0.5 to have a full FTE to assist our students with disabilities who are receiving speech services and to assist us in the evaluation process. You've made a commitment to funding preschool education. I applaud you for that because you have recognized the importance of an early investment and how that can pay dividends for our community long after these students leave school. There's a lot of data and a lot of research that supports that. We have a need to hire an additional 2 paraprofessionals for our preschool program. And by doing that, we'll be able to provide early intervention and preschool services to more students next year than we're able to do now. And the value and benefit of this is that with the talented paraprofessionals that we have, we're able to accomplish this at a cost lower than hiring new teachers. Now, not everything we're going to talk about tonight is additional expense. We have looked creatively at how we can repurpose staff that we have, use resources differently to meet our changing demands. Right now, we have an FTE, we have an individual that works in our ICT program at Triplet Tech. Although the Department of Education is eliminating that program, but we have a need for a career guidance counselor at Triplet, and we have a need also to teach sections of personal finance to the students who are taking courses at Triplet. So with the elimination of that program, we're able to accomplish some objectives that we need to accomplish at Triplet Tech, and we're able to do that with no additional operating cost. Additionally, you have seen firsthand through presentations the benefits of the competent learner model. We have a need to make sure that that is sustainable in our school division, that we have capacity to be able to keep this going well into the future. And so through a partnership with the regional program, we would have the ability to hire a CLM coach and behavior analyst, hire that person and be on our staff, and get reimbursement through the regional program, and we would not have any additional costs to our school division. So there are 2 positions that we're able to have with limited cost and actually no net cost to our school division, zero cost. So here's a summary of instructional personnel that is needed as we prepare for the future and next school year. Those with red asterisks next to them, they are positions that you have requested, that you have supported, but have not been funded in the past, not only last year, but the year before. So those needs have been in existence in our school division for multiple years. Those needs have not gone away, and they remain. Instructional support. There's a cliff for our students and our staff at the high school. Our students and staff go through elementary school, middle school with support with regard to instructional technology. They get to high school and they fall off the cliff. We do not have dedicated staff at our high schools to support teachers as they implement curriculum related to technology and supporting that as an important support for our teachers. We have 6, and by not having any at our high schools, we have nearly 1,900 students who don't have the support that their elementary school, middle school colleagues have. Nearly 300 staff do not have that support either. Again, with the theme of equity, Strasburg High School is the only elementary, middle, and high school in our school division that does not have a full-time nurse. Those students deserve to have the same access to medical care and support as the students do at the other schools. Again, we are requesting a nurse for Strasburg High School. That request was made last year as well. With regard to instruction, we need to make improvements with what we're doing related to language arts and literacy. You can see that we have made slow progress, but we are not near where we need to be to accomplish a 75% pass rate as identified by the Commonwealth of Virginia. If we continue to do the same things we've been doing and staff at the same levels that we've been staffed at, we're going to get the same results. So we need support for classroom teachers with a content specialist that can go to their classroom, spend time with them, assist in lesson planning, assist with instructional delivery, and assist with the support that they need. If we're going to improve, we need to dedicate the resources to the classroom and support our teachers so that they have the resources to be successful. And oh, by the way, we had an independent third party 2 years ago who analyzed our staffing in our school division because many thought at that time that the central office was too heavily staffed. You have way too many people in the central office. And so as a result of that report, they said, no, that's not true. You don't have the depth of support that you need to accomplish your instructional mission. In summary, here's the instructional support that's being requested in next year's budget. These are additional expenditures, and again, these resources have been requested in multiple years and are a continuing need as we go forward. Instructional resources. Well, to balance the budget last year, we had to cut our textbook budget by $143,000. And we were able to do that because it was not an adoption year. We were not buying new resources over the summer to get ready for a new textbook adoption. Well, guess what? We were able to do it for a year, but we can't continue to do it because this summer we need to purchase instructional resources to support our social studies curriculum. And in order to do that, we need an additional $155,000 to be able to have the funds to purchase instructional resources for social studies. Again, related to career planning. I've told you in the past that our career plans right now are on a thumb drive. Well, with the importance of career planning and the support that we need for our students and parents, a minimal expenditure in purchasing software will provide the support that our counselors, our families need to be able to prepare for the future of career planning. It's access that we can have for our students and our parents, that we can have dialogue together about what we want students and where they want to go and the support they need to accomplish their career. I've heard it said by some that if you want students to do the work of the world, you need to give them the tools of the world. ProWare is scientific equipment that scientists, students use to be able to analyze data, conduct research, and use it in their classroom. It's not fancy equipment, it's not a toy, because you go to any other school division, in any other science class, you're going to find this as a regular part of what they have in their classrooms. Our students have them because of the benefit of Helen Moore. Frankly, if it wouldn't have been for Helen Moore and her living legacy and the contribution to this school division, we wouldn't have ProWare in our school division. So we need to take the division initiative. We need to purchase those things for our students so that they have access to them. And oh, by the way, it's required by the standards of learning. It's not a frill. It's not a want. It's a need. With regard to equity, we need to do a better job of identifying students early when it comes to determining whether or not they should receive gifted services. So we need to dedicate some resources to testing and what we can do to identify students better, earlier, and look at eligibility based on better metrics than we're currently using. A lot's changed since 2008, 2009. You know that what we're doing in education now is a lot different than it was several years ago. That's a good thing. It's a positive step that we're taking. And the reform initiatives that we have and the state has are good things for kids. But you need to be able to fund them. Okay? Over time, we're being asked to do more, and we don't have the dollars in the classroom to do it. Demands have increased, expectations have increased, but the dollars to accomplish those expectations and meet those expectations are just not there. So we need to increase funding for the classroom, we need to get more materials and supplies to the classroom, and we need to reallocate them based on new enrollments. So we need to look at student distribution as we go forward with the boundary adjustment and make those adaptations based on the student need. Not only do we need to replace old and broken furniture, but we need to look again to the future, and we need to determine what we want our classrooms to look like. We need to determine how classrooms can be arranged so that we can foster collaboration, we can foster creativity, critical thinking, communication, problem solving. And how does the furniture facilitate what we want to accomplish for our instructional cornerstones? It's more than just replacing the old. It's looking at new and what we need for our students to be able to have experiences that students are getting in other school divisions. You may think that that's a picture from a magazine or a picture that we pulled off the internet, but that's a real classroom. You can drive anywhere within an hour radius and you will see a classroom like this in other schools. Our students deserve to have the same opportunities as these students. They deserve to have the same furniture and access to instructional opportunities as do these students. So in summary, $385,991 in additional instructional resources being requested in this budget. Any of those things, again, have been requested in past years. You have supported them in your budget, but they have not been funded. With regard to instructional programming, the number of students who are participating in our music programs continues to increase. We're successful, and success breeds success. Students want to be a part of it, and I don't blame them because we're doing wonderful things with our music programs, but with that comes a cost. Instruments get used, we have more students participating in competitions, and oh, by the way, we had to turn students away last year who wanted to participate in the fine arts program. Well, we need to think about that. We need to fund that appropriately so that all students have the access to that wonderful program that other students had this past summer. I talked to Wendy Whitford one day, and she had a tuba sitting in her classroom. I said, Wendy, where did that tuba come from? And so Wendy and her family, as their Christmas gift to North Fork Middle School, refurbished that tuba with their own money. I said, how old is that tuba? And she said, Dr. Raley, that predates Hitler. So even with what she has done out of the kindness of her heart, our students are still playing with a tuba that predates Hitler. And you'll find that in other classes in our school division. So we need to dedicate resources to repair our instruments and keep them current and be able to have what our students need to be successful. We all take pride when we sit in this room and students in blue coats and red coats and students from Skills USA stand in front of us because they are state winners and national winners. We are successful and we have strong programs. But they're struggling. They're having a hard time providing the finances and resources to continue to compete. There have also been changes in the federal government requirements, and we can't do the same things from a division standpoint that we once did. So in order to continue that success, we need to dedicate some resources to travel so that these students still have the opportunity to compete and be a part of those wonderful learning experiences. You heard a presentation from athletic directors in the fall regarding the constraints that they have in raising money and the issues that they face in running their programs. Part of that is travel. And with success, again, breeds success, but it comes at a cost. Because our students are traveling many, many different places, and it comes at a cost. So we need to adequately support our athletic programs and provide the financial resources so that we can continue that success and provide support for those students who are participating in these very worthwhile experiences. So in all, With regard to instructional programming, it's an overall increase of $80,000. Instructional support and technology. We've been fortunate that through grants and other opportunities, we'll be able to increase the number of devices that our students have access to. Well, you'd probably expect that that bottom graph would follow a similar trajectory to what the top graph does. So with more devices, you would think that we would have more staff to be able to support those devices, but we haven't. Imagine being in the classroom when your computer breaks down and it takes you 9 days to have it fixed. That leads to frustration. So again, we are asking for an additional staff member to support our technology program, to be able to provide network support for our teachers to be able to access those important resources. And as I've shared with you in the past, since 2007, what we're using the internet for is much different. It creates some increasing demands, and we built our infrastructure for this. And so right now, this is the amount of traffic that we have on our internet network. And if we don't provide the support behind that, we're going to have gridlock. And we're not going to have the people to support it when gridlock happens. Again, requests that have been made in the past, you have supported them, but they have not been funded, so those requests and those needs remain. Overall, with regard to student opportunity and achievement, all the things that I've discussed at this point in time result in an overall increase in expenditures related to that school division goal of slightly under $1.3 million. In a time when we have script by, when we have been asked to do much, much more with less, we have been able to keep our nose out of the water and keep breathing and surviving because of our awesome folks. We are successful because of the people who slap on a badge, drive our buses, walk in our doors, teach our students, feed our children, keep them safe and healthy every day. That's why we're successful. And so we owe it to them to be able to provide them with a competitive wage, a competitive benefit package, and recognizing the hard work that they do for the school division every day. We've identified in policy the school divisions that we want to compete with. And so the proposal in front of you for your consideration with regard to salary is that each employee who experiences a successful year of experience will move to the next step, the next level on that salary scale. And this proposal also includes increasing the salary scale by 1%. If you remember last year, we established salary scales based on a competitive market. We set minimums, we set maximums, and we had increments in between to make sure that there was a sound structure moving forward. So let's walk through an example. What would this mean for one of our employees? Take, for example, one of our licensed practical nurses who is currently on level A. With the year's worth of successful performance, that employee would move down to level B, which is an increase of $295 or 1.41%. But under this proposal, that employee would not only get the benefit of a step for successful performance, but would also receive an increase of 1%. Their overall raise would be $508 or 2.42%. As we built these scales last year, remember there were different increments between each step for different employment categories, and that was a result of market data. So this shows an analysis of what those steps are based on employment category. So with simply a scale increase, if they move down the scale one step as a result of successful performance, this would be the raise that they would receive, and then you add 1% to that, and that would be their proposed increase heading into next year. Our teachers, we have worked hard to be competitive with other school divisions up and down the valley. We have made progress, and it's going to result in your dedicated commitment to closing the gap between us and other school divisions. But you can see that we have made progress, and we still have work to do, particularly at the top end of our salary scale, where there remains a discrepancy between where we are and the benchmarks. So this data shows where we are now, the current median of our competitive school divisions, and a proposed salary scale for next year. You can also see the difference between where we are now and the median. So, with a proposal of a step plus 1%, we would close the gap in that green line would be where we would be. It would close the gap between blue and red, but as you can see, there is still a gap, which speaks to the need to do continual work as we go forward. Let us not forget, too, the superintendents in those other school divisions in red are having the same conversations that we're having with their school board, too. So we continually chase, we continually try to be competitive, but we're a year behind. This is current salary scale for teachers, proposed salary scale for 16-17, and an example of a teacher currently on step 6 making $42,172. With a year's worth of successful performance, we make $42,640, a 1.11% increase, or $468. But with a 1% addition, that raise would be $894, for a total of 2.12%. We need to also look at health insurance, look at overall compensation. We've made a commitment in the past several years to fund 100% of the $1,000 deductible at the employee-only rate. We were hoping for better news from our insurance provider. If you remember in years past, we built a budget based off of a 10% increase, and sometimes we came in about 3 or 4% and we were able to get some savings. Well, it's a good thing that we budgeted for 10 because it came in at 9. So we're still where we thought we were going to be and slightly less. But this proposal includes continuing to pay the $1,000 deductible at the employee-only portion and paying 100% of that for employees. So we need to support our employees too. And education is changing and changing rapidly, and the expectations are increasing at a greater pace than they've ever been. So we need to support our teachers and provide them with the skills and abilities they need to be successful in honing their craft. So this budget includes dollars for professional development so that we can support our teachers and give them the background and support that they need to be successful as we move forward into the future. We need to hire the best, we need to train the best, and we need to keep the best. And we are right now tearing down our current mentoring program. We want to build it back up because we need to do a better job of supporting our new teachers. We need to do it just more than 1 year. We need to coach them, we need to mentor them, and give them support. And this budget provides funding for us to be able to do that. In a time when more and more people are thinking second, they're not maybe considering a career in education, it's tougher for us to be able to hire folks. Less and less people are getting into the profession. It's a difficult job, and some people are not wanting to do it. We need to make sure that we're going out and trying to get the best for our students. We went on 7 recruiting trips in 2015. We had a 14% turnover rate. Think about 2006 when the job market was a lot different. There was a more robust pool. We were going to 24 job fairs. So this budget includes some funding where we can go to more job fairs, expand our net, and try to attract more teachers than we have in the past to be a part of this wonderful school division. So in all, with regard to staff excellence, this budget increase includes $1.227 million, most of that being salary and benefits for our talented employees. We met last Thursday and we talked about the operational side of our organization. And I showed you some data related to how we have been staffed in the past with regard to custodians, the industry standard for that, and where we are now. And you can see that there is a significant discrepancy between the best practices in the industry, where we were in 2006, 2007, and where we are now. The entire time, our facilities haven't gotten younger. They have only increased in age, and so the demand on our custodians has increased. They are working hard to be able to meet those demands, but honestly, we need to provide them support. We need to give them the resources from an equipment, material standpoint. We need to adequately staff our custodial ranks within our schools. This budget includes additional dollars to do that. There are safety concerns. More students will be going to our schools on the southern campus if that's the direction you choose to go. So not only are we asking for additional FTEs for custodians, we're trying to find creative ways to provide support for those other buildings through the use of hybrid positions, potentially with our bus drivers, so that we don't have to pay the cost of additional health insurance or VRS benefits, but we can have those be full-time positions rather than part-time positions and save our school division some money. Over time, like many aspects of our operations, the maintenance department budget has been reduced. We have a need to be able to fund many things related to everyday, ongoing maintenance. Not one-time capital expenses, but everyday, ongoing maintenance. So this budget provides dollars for us to be able to put some more money into maintenance. With regard to roofing, either we replace it with capital dollars or we fix it. We need to do one or the other. But in order to fix them, we have to have dollars in our everyday ongoing maintenance budget to be able to fix cracks, fix flashing, make the repairs that we need to the roof. So one or the other has to happen. Either we replace them with a one-time capital or we receive additional dollars to be able to maintain them. Our custodians are overworked and they don't have the tools that they need to be able to do their job. The buffers, the floor scrubbers that they have are aging and there aren't parts to replace them. So we need money in our budget in the future to buy new equipment for our custodians so that they can do their job efficiently and effectively. There are other things that we need within regard to our maintenance budget. We need to be able to keep up our building automation system, maintain the security expenses that we've had, and be able to take good care of that investment. We're going to provide support for our custodians and relieve some of the workload on them, increasing our grass cutting contract so that building custodians can spend more time in the building. We have awesome custodians. In the last snow that we had custodians who had to drive home, load up their own four-wheeler, load up their own snow blower, load up their own tractor, because what we've been providing them didn't work. Wasn't working. That's not fair. They shouldn't have to use their own tractors, snow blowers, and four-wheelers to clear snow. But they had to, or else we'd have never gotten it done. So, again, another indication that the equipment that we have in our schools is aging. We've been limping by, we've been getting by, but we need to replace it. You've been doing a wonderful job of planning and looking into the future. With regard to transportation, we have to look at future recruitment. We have to look at future attraction and retention of our bus drivers. It is extremely difficult to go from one day not having a CDL to drive your bus to ultimately getting behind the wheel and driving 77 students down the road. You know, it should be difficult to be able to get that credential. This data shows that it is. But we need to provide support for those who are wanting to do that. And we don't have anyone who is dedicated to recruiting bus drivers, training bus drivers, and giving them the support that they need to be successful as they do their job. That need shows up in data. We need to be very strategic and purposeful in providing support for our bus drivers now, but we need to recruit new bus drivers and have them trained and be in the pipeline because we have an aging workforce, and over time, as these individuals retire, there's going to be a huge void that we're not going to be able to fill. So with an investment of a bus driver trainer, we'll be able to have a pipeline of talent that will be able to fill the seats, and we can continue our operations. Of all the things that are transported on our roads in this county and nationwide, the most precious cargo that is transported is our kids. And so we need to provide them with the safest buses that we can, the best maintained buses that we can. And since 1996, there's been a lot of improvements in safety. A lot of things have happened over time to make sure that students are transported safer than they've ever been. This is just one example. The seats are higher, they're softer, they're thicker. Compartmentalization keeps them safer now than they did in 1996. These are billboards for our school division. Every day, running many, many miles up and down our community. Well, over time, they age, they wear, and we need to think about the face of our school division and how we want that appearance to be. It speaks to the extremely difficult job that our bus drivers have. When we have 64 passenger buses, think of what we'd be able to do. We had 77 passenger buses and have more space for our students and be able to have a little bit more room for safety and comfort on our buses. The state of Virginia right now has said you need to replace buses after 15 years of age. That's their recommendation. It's not a mandate. We have 30 buses in our fleet that are over 15 years old. A few years ago, they changed it from 12 to 15. Just think if they had left it at 12 years for a replacement cycle, we would have nearly half of our fleet that would need to be replaced based on the Department of Education guidelines. If you've seen this picture before, this is one of our vans. And we're transporting students from Stanton to Manassas every day. 14 of our vans that are 8 years old travel on an average of 18,000 miles each year. At the end of this year, we will have vehicles that are transporting 5, 6, and 7 students with disabilities up and down the road, and one of those vehicles will have over 200,000 miles. Now, if that's our portion of vehicles, that's one thing. But we're transporting precious cargo up and down the road. I don't want to get the call from Marty saying, Dr. Raley, we have a van broken down on Interstate 81. I have 5 students with autism in it. What are we going to do? That's not a call that I'm looking forward to. So let's take those 14 vehicles that were purchased in 2008. Chances are they'll probably all get close to their useful life at the same amount of time. Not a one of them has less than 100,000 miles on the odometer. We talked about this some last year, not a whole lot this year, but over time the federal government is reducing what we receive in reimbursement for federal E-rate. So our expenditures are reduced as a result of that reimbursement. Well, the federal government is taking that away. So over time we're going to see an increase in our utility bills as a result of E-rate being removed. So we need to accommodate for that. What we have in our budget now is not going to be enough as E-rate is reduced over time. We need to prepare for that. We've talked in the past that this is 2016 and we're still using paper timesheets. We've talked about the number of times that these papers change hands and how we could be more efficient, how we can be more effective. We can utilize the talent of our staff in a better way with the purchase of a software program that would take this away, be more accurate. It would help us align with IRS guidelines, Fair Labor Standards Act, and a variety of things we need to be held accountable to. So in all, with regard to system efficiencies, this budget includes an additional $723,255 to meet the demands of our operational program. The last item I wanted to talk about as a need heading into next year is resources if we choose to go forward with a boundary adjustment and equitably aligning our students so that we can efficiently and effectively use our buildings. There are resources that will go with that. And I explained early on in our budget deliberations that it's not as simple as taking students from here to there and taking a like number of students, teachers, from here to there. If I have 60 students that will go from Peter Muhlenberg Middle School to North Fork Middle School, I can't take a portion of the one art teacher and send that person to North Fork. It doesn't work. I need to leave that art teacher there. So that's something we've discussed in the past, and I think you recognize that, but wanted to bring that forward again for consideration. So, based on data analysis, based on the information of the 3 options that are under consideration right now, and we look at an instructional program and what we need for all students to have equal access to the opportunities across our division, there's a need for us to convert the current 10-month intern position in North Fork to a full-time 12-month assistant principal. The students at North Fork Middle School are going to need a full-time librarian who does nothing but manage, run, and provide literacy opportunities for the students that move to North Fork. At North Fork, we'll need to increase art from 0.5 to 1. They will need a drama program like the students at Peter Muhlenberg have. And they will need a full-time dedicated technology teacher like the teacher that they have at Signal Down Middle School, Peter Muhlenberg Middle School. And oh, by the way, if we want to add drama at North Fork, because they have it at Muhlenberg, we need to add it at Signal Knob so that all students in middle school have the same access and opportunity for drama. Some may say, well, why don't you cut the drama program at Muhlenberg instead of adding at North Fork and Signal Knob? That would be one approach. It's not an approach I support, because those students at Muhlenberg have been the beneficiary of that opportunity. I believe the other students need to have the same access as the students at Muhlenberg currently have. Additionally, a math teacher will be needed at Northport. You know that we're analyzing other positions, and we may have some additional information as you make decisions on a future option. So in order to equitably align resources, we're looking at slightly less than $400,000 in personnel. In all, if you look at student opportunity and achievement, staff excellence, and operating efficiencies, the overall increase in expenditures for next year would be $3.6 billion. So where does the money come from? Well, currently, this is where the money comes from. The majority of our budget comes from the state. 52% of our current revenue comes from the state. 42% comes from our local government. A very small amount comes from the federal government. And that 4% is reimbursement that we receive from our regional special education program. The funds that we expect to receive from both the state and federal governments do not provide enough revenue to support the needs that have been outlined previously in this presentation in order to fill the gaps that we've identified. We're thankful for the historical support that we've received from the residents of Shenandoah County and our elected representatives on the Shenandoah County Board of Supervisors. Our school division's beliefs were created collaboratively with students, employees, parents, and other citizens in our community 2 years ago. Together as a community, we believe that great communities come from great schools. We also believe that the education of our children is an investment of time, labor, and resources in our future. In order to meet the many needs of our community school division that have been outlined in this presentation tonight, we'll need an increase of $2,642,379 in additional revenue from our Shenandoah County community. This proposed budget before you this evening is based on a total revenue from Shenandoah County equal to $27,786,961. Our community has incrementally increased its financial contribution to the operations of our school system each of the last several years. And as we're a public school division, we must rely on our community and our elected representatives on the Board of Supervisors for their continued financial support. And as we work to level the playing field and provide our community students with the resources that their peers in the Shenandoah Valley and across the Commonwealth are provided, we'll need our community's continued support. And so tonight, we ask for our community's continued commitment to public education in Shenandoah County. The proposed budget for the 2017 fiscal year reflects the many gaps in our school division that have been identified from a variety of perspectives, including all schools and departments. As a school division, we want to ensure that we're providing all students with the knowledge, skills, and opportunities that are so crucial for students so that they can become successful members of a global community. In order to accomplish this goal, it takes staff, it takes equipment, it takes materials, it takes resources. And this proposed budget will allow us to make substantial progress toward accomplishing our school division's identified goals, allowing us to close the gap between where we are now and where we want to be. By closing this gap, we'll be able to provide our students with the same competitive advantages and opportunities as their peers, not only in other school divisions, but across the state and nation as well. Thank you, board members, for your approach you've taken in the development of this budget. You remain transparent. You provided the public with an opportunity to be a part of the process with your work sessions, and you will continue to do so with many public meetings to come prior to your vote. I look forward to working together in the next several weeks as we bring this to a close. You identify the resources that you feel we need as we prepare a final budget for the Board of Supervisors, a budget that is aligned with our school division's goals, our beliefs, and the overall needs of our school division. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
School board members, do you have any questions? So Dr. Raley, you said that the schools and the departments identified $5.6 million in needs. Is that what you said at the beginning?
$5.6 million before factoring in any salary costs.
Okay, so that you've actually narrowed that down from
Quite a bit, yes, ma'am. And remembering that their requests were only limited to 3. Had I said, tell me your needs beyond 3, I'm sure it would have been much higher than $5.6 million, but I limited it down to get started.
Any other questions?
Not really any question. I mean, we've been through a lot of this already in our work sessions.
Right.
Just a couple comments throughout your presentation. I had the fortunate experience of visiting the biomed program when they did their shuffling about throughout the snow.
Yeah.
On February 3rd, I sort of stuck my head in and peeked into that, and that is just unbelievable. I mean, the kids, the teachers, it's just unbelievable what they've done in 1 year of the program and the potential that it has is amazing. Gina's talked extensively about the CLM, and from what I understand, Shenandoah County is really on the leading edge of that. We're a model for other counties to emulate.
Yes.
And that's all required. Along the lines of the probeware in terms of a requirement, that's just one of the many examples that you can point out as being a mandate that's passed down from the state that doesn't get funded by the state. We absorb that. It's a requirement that we don't get back. We have to absorb that somehow. So there are many of those types of scenarios in the budget presented. In terms of looking at furniture, you know, looking towards those classrooms of the future, I'm hopeful that we get that opportunity through the long-term facility study to recognize some of that so that we can have the forethought to plan for that versus the reactionary try to catch up. Just some other stuff, and I realize that all this is too big for something. Transportation needs, you know, I know some of that's in our CIP. We need to fund the CIP as well. We can't forget about that. They're two separate things, and we're trying to make CIP stuff happen out of an operating budget, and it's just, how do you do that? It's hard. Yeah, so those are just a couple comments. I realize there aren't any questions in there, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I see.
Any other school members?
When we talk about the needs in the transportation side, it's kind of been I guess a blessing at the time, but it could come back to hurt you later when we were able to acquire those 14 vans in 1 year. Blessing at the time, but they are all aging at the same time.
Yes, sir.
And you talked about during that phone call you might get one day. Well, I think we got a message this week where something similar to that happened, and we basically were running out of vehicles to replace it with.
We have 0 spares right now.
Right.
There's nothing on the bench. You can't look down the bench and say that car's next. There's nothing there.
So there are needs. It's just not. This really isn't just a nice wish list. It'd be nice to do these things. We're at a point where they're true needs.
I'm still new and learning some of this stuff, but aren't some of these things that are listed under the system efficiencies and operating efficiencies, shouldn't those be covered under the CIP and not the operating budget? Shouldn't some replacement of vehicles be included in a capital program rather than an operating budget?
And that's a philosophical discussion. There are requests in your approved capital improvement plan for the purchase of school buses and the purchase of light fleet vehicles, vans and sedans. For many years, those resources have not been funded from a capital standpoint, and we have had to fund vehicles from our operational budget. You know, the definition of capital was a one-time expense with a lasting life of 5 years or more and a value of over $5,000. So one would argue that the purchase of vehicles could in fact be considered a one-time capital expense and in capital budget. But without those resources, we still had to run vehicles up and down the road. So we're at a point in time where we need to fund them. It's just where they're funded from.
technology stuff is interesting. I mean, here you have elementary and middle schoolers, and then the kids that are going off to higher education where it's primarily technology-based are not getting that hands-on experience. I mean, I know, like, when I need tech support, I have a 7-year-old, and he's all over it. But what are we doing in high school when those kids are right about to go and get their hands on all that technology? They've had it, they've had their hands off it, now they're back on it. It's a cliff. I mean, it's just like you said, we're not helping them out there at all.
Another way of looking at it, Ms. Frickley, is the digital divide. You oftentimes hear the digital divide being those who have internet access and those who don't. Well, for us, it's not that. The digital divide in this school division is those who have access to the support from an instructional standpoint and those that don't. So there is a digital divide within our own school division.
And I think our high school teachers, some of them are doing amazing things with technology, but they just don't have that support, and they're having to.
Just think what they could do if they had that
Just think what
support.
they could
And
do.
I mean, I know that if I didn't have a computer for 9 days at work, that's not happening. I mean, you don't function like that.
Anything else? I think that to close, I'd just like to remind us, next Thursday, the same room, 7 p.m., February 18th, we'll have a chance for the community to weigh in on budget ideas and on the presentation and on other budget ideas. Then we'll have budget work sessions open to the public on February 25th, March 2nd, and March 10th. And then we'll be voting on the budget to forward to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration on March 10th. And I'd like to say thank you to the Board of Supervisors members who could come out tonight and hear firsthand rather than reading in the paper. And so we look forward to more conversations. So I think we're just about the time to start our other meeting. So thank you so much, Dr. Raley.
Yes, ma'am.